All right. That was Jerome Durham from his CD, aka Mississippi Blues Boy. And we're here in the front studio. We're joined by Mudbone. It's
How you
been
doing?
good. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. We're
Yeah.
just sitting here discussing the wonders of social media.
Yeah. About how it kind of baffles me sometimes,
Oh, yeah,
man.
it
You know.
baffles me too.
Yeah.
Let everybody know we're here today.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. Cool. You were here once before. What?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think it was late last year, early
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. Early this year, I think. Just about a year
It's
ago,
all
something
kind of a
like
big
that. Yeah.
blur. I have to do about 7,000 miles a month, so
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
getting
You're based out of Nashville?
Yeah, but I don't see it very much.
Yeah.
I
No.
do a lot of traveling. I like to stay. If I stay in one spot more than a couple of days, I start to get twitchy. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, at that time you were kind of touring in support of your CD. You have Mudbone, Rivers and Roads, and this was part one, Rivers.
Yeah.
And you just walked in here and you got another brand new CD.
Yeah,
This
we're
is
releasing that in early January, and really excited about everything that's going on with that. It's a lot different than part one. I wanted to look at everything as sort of a concept piece. Part one was like a riverboat trip in 1927, and I really wanted to bookend 50 years of musical expansion. So we did 1927, a riverboat trip for part one, and
right.
1977, a road trip for part two. And
Yeah.
so part two has got a lot of electricity in it, and there's elements of all sorts of mid-'70s sounds and music in there, but it's all original tunes. And, we took a couple, actually, Marshall Tucker tune, Take the Highway.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I've always loved that song.
Sure.
And that's, usually when I head out on the highway and it's
Yeah.
every morning,
Yeah.
at some point in time, that song comes on, and it's kind of just a way of life, and I was happy to be able to put it on this record. And then, and sticking with sort of the theme of part one, in that, African music and European music combining over that 50 years, it created American music,
Right.
and not just that 50 years. That was sort of the pinnacle of that combination, but it started
Way
back in
back.
1724 in New Orleans, and
Right.
1831 in the Mississippi Delta, and
You were talking briefly with John, our world music guy here, as you came in the door about how
Yeah.
this all developed out of Africa and
Yeah.
turned into field hollers and stuff.
yeah,
And,
and it's the common thread that sort of binds us all together, is that the music that came over from Africa and turned into field hollers and would eventually become the blues, it was also the music that came over from Europe and settled in the hollows and turned into bluegrass and
The Piedmont
eventually
style
country
and-
music. Those two sounds, when they began to stir, that stirring is American music, and
Yeah.
there's a pretty incredible story about where our music comes from, and I like to talk about that a lot. So it was good to talk early today for sure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of that mixed up kind of down around Memphis and stuff. That's where they kind of joined in together and stuff,
Memphis and Nashville, both
Yeah,
they're kind of
yeah.
in that same plane, and when the Delta music migrated north,
Right.
and the Appalachian music migrated south.
Right.
It swirled, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's really
Yeah.
it's ours. So
Yeah, yeah. Americana and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's all a
yeah,
mix
right.
of great stuff.
It's
Yeah.
American music. Like I said, it's the common thread. Everybody wants to focus on the divisions and differences in between cultures and stuff, and no, that right there, music is our common thread. That's what we should focus on.
Brings us all together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you say on the new CD you got about 13 different people playing on here with you?
Yeah,
Some,
well, there's quite a few. I lived. I still technically my address is in Nashville, but like I said, I travel all the time, so it's hard to tell where I live now. I live everywhere.
Yeah.
But I was based and actually lived within the city limits of Nashville most of my time for about 15 years, working with other artists, playing guitar, live, studio, just doing really whatever came along. And over that 15 years, I really got to experience the wisdom of some really great players.
Yeah.
And those guys, I was lucky enough, every now and then one would come along, and I'd be like, if I ever get to make a record, that guy is playing that.
Yeah,
right. And, I just I got to have every one of them that I ever thought that about. So
Yeah.
this is my dream band. I bring my dream band in and make a record. So it was it was a really a wonderful experience and a blessing.
Johnny Neal.
Oh,
playing
Johnny
some-
Neal. Not enough can be said about Johnny Neal. He's a spirit of light walking the earth. That's all I can really come up with. He's he played B3 Hammond organ for the Allman Brothers for many
Right.
years.
Yeah.
He was the voice of a crawfish in Disney's Ratatouille.
Oh, was he?
Oh yeah, and Johnny's got one of them voices. A
Yeah.
good friend of mine is always talking about. He says, Johnny when Johnny sings, it makes you hungry for crawfish. So he's got one of them. So he lent his hand on part one, the very last track. It's a piano and a Southern gospel quartet.
Wow.
And so he's playing at the end of part one, and then he laid down B3 Hammond. On part two, I got to have he and Cowboy Eddie Long in the studio the same day. And I told him, I said, I want you to sit down. And now Cowboy played pedal steel with Muddy Waters. He currently is on tour with Jamie Johnson. He played with Hank Jr. for many, many years. And sort of the recognized Merlin of his craft. He's a wizard for sure, and not many people would argue that point. And
There's some great pedal steel players in that Nashville area.
Put a swirly bendy blanket over everything, and
he did.
They did, man. They got together, and like it was one of the coolest days I've ever had. Really, just to sit there and watch them two work together. It was great.
Cool. Well, hey, we got you here in the studio. You want to play something for us?
Yeah.
You got your guitar out, and
yeah, I was talking about we took a Van Morrison tune, and keeping with the theme of how European and African music came together, Van Morrison took an Irish folk tune and turned it into a funk tune. And a lot of people have covered it over the years, and I was happy to be able to put it on this record. It was it's a tune called "I've Been Working."
yeah, cool.
I've been working so hard. Oh, I've been working so hard. But when I come home, I just wanna make love to you. When I come home, I've been grinding all night long. 18 hours grinding hard all night long. But when I come home, I just wanna make love to you. When I come home, I say, woman, 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 woman. You know you make me feel so good. I say, woman, 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 woman. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. yes, grinding gas hard all night long. But when I come home, I just wanna make love to you. When I come home, I say woman, 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 woman. You know you make me feel so good. I say woman, 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 woman. Hey, when I come home, when I come home.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Van Morrison. I remember that tune.
Yeah. Well,
Working.
there's, government. I think the first version I ever heard anybody cut of that was Government Mule.
Yeah.
And then I heard a Bob Seger cut of it.
Yeah.
That was pretty incredible. And then I found out it was a Van Morrison tune after researching it. And it's kind of cool. You can go listen to a lot of that stuff, and in the sessions where they were creating the songs, they'd let the tape roll, and he'd just tell people what to do, kind of like James Brown, and he just, you do this, you do that, and we'll make it funky, and that's kind of what Van Morrison was doing. It was cool to hear him talk about where that song came from, and
how he created it.
How he created it. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
He's got a new CD out that just came out here, and we've been playing it on the blues shows here a little bit, and he's got
cat.
Yeah, he's got Jeff Beck playing some guitar on there.
That's
so
pretty good.
That's
good.
But good stuff. We're here in the WEFT front studio talking with Mudbone. He's kind of on the road these days. You got a couple gigs coming up around Illinois area.
Yeah, I'm actually headed down to Southern Illinois, and get to spend. It's my birthday weekend. I'm spending my birthday weekend in Southern Illinois with all my good friends down there in Heron and Carbondale and Marion. Down in that direction.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm going to go, I think, probably head over into the Shawnee National Forest.
Sure.
Head over there. I got some friends over there. They got a little cabin out in the woods that I got some access to, and just sit there and watch the sun come up and have a good morning. In the middle of the woods. I like that.
Get a little inspiration, write a couple more songs and stuff.
Hopefully that's always the goal.
Yeah, get out there in nature and stuff. That's always good.
It does.
So brings you back to the roots. So I was looking at your CD here. You actually do a remake of one of the tunes that was on your first CD. Red Shoes On.
Yeah, it was sort of a, I'm not sure what kind of idea you call it, but I wanted to take, like I said, I was bookending 50 years of musical expansion. So in the 20s, in 27, if there was a blues song that somebody in the mid 70s maybe wanted to cover, because that happened a lot,
sure.
I mean, that was a lot of them big songs from the 70s were actually big songs from the 20s,
Right.
So
the blues has borrowed a lot from itself over the years.
For sure. And that's the cool thing about it. I mean, I like to think about it. I mean, somebody a long time ago started this vibration, and we've been kicking it around ever since, and that's what's awesome about it. But I wanted to be able to kind of bring that idea out. So I took a song that I wrote in the mindset of 1927 and then covered it in the mindset of 1977.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different cat.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah. And you're going to be playing down. You're going to head down after that down to Kentucky or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we're in a standby pattern. I may actually head up to Riverton, Illinois, from Southern Illinois, and catch something up there Wednesday night. I just got a murmur about that last night, so I can't confirm anything. Everybody wants to keep up at Mudbone Roots on Facebook. I keep all my shows posted there, and sometimes, as a guy that travels around a lot, some things fall through and some things pick up in other places at the same time.
Yeah.
So
I think you were playing in Riverton last time you came through the area here. I think
it's beautiful down there, and it's and then after that I'm headed down to Panama City Beach.
Oh, Florida.
And then back. I think the 14th and 15th I'm down there, and then I'll be back up into Kentucky through the 28th, and then I'm going to go spend, I think, the first couple of months of next year on I-10, somewhere between Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
All over the place down there. So
Louisiana, Alabama.
Yeah, I got some real good friends down in Louisiana, and the Dat Sauce, all the Dat Sauce folks that they're down there, and they have a great, just a great community of people down there in Morgan City, Louisiana.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful place to be able to get away to. It's not many people want to come out in the middle of the swamps to bother you, so it's a good getaway.
Definitely, yeah. So you said you had another song that you were wanting to do, kind of a country kind of tune?
Well, we were talking about it, and I released a tune. I like all kinds of music, so I learned from some pretty great songwriters that you just let the song write itself.
Right.
So if it's writing itself and it's a country song, then it wants to be a country song. And if it don't, it'll let you know. And so I like to stick to that. And this was there's a tune I wrote a few years ago, and I've known it was a good tune, but I wanted to do something special with it. So was waiting on the right opportunities, and it's a story song, sort of in the traditions of, I guess, Tom T. Hall or the storytellers in country music. But it talks about veterans and soldiers, and I tell people all the time when I'm playing and I do this song that it's when you say thank you to a veteran, you really don't know what you're saying thank you for. We have to keep doing it. You got to say thank you every chance you get, but don't do it out of a base sense of obligation. Do it. Think about what you're saying thank you for. They're walking around with a lot of things so that you don't have to. There's a lot that continues to go on once people get home, and there's a whole battle that's fought within at that point, and you got to think about that when you say thank you, because like I said, they walk around with those things so that you don't have to. So that's sort of what this song is about. It's called Christmas Whiskey. In a little roadside tavern on a rainy Christmas day, we were all complaining about having to be away, when a broken old voice whispered from back behind the bar, said, "Must have never seen a Christmas from the front lines of a war." And then he told us all a story of a distant bygone age, and a battle full of heroes on a bloody Christmas day, and a night on pins and needles with only one reprieve, a flask inside his jacket just said open Christmas Eve. It was a shot of Christmas whiskey from 1,000,000 miles away, where I know that they all missed me. Lord, I was missing Christmas Day. And it smelled just like the timber in my old Kentucky home, in a foxhole in a desert on a silent night alone, with a Christmas whiskey. He dusted off the bottle and he began to speak again. He said he won the fight, but when he got stateside, things were never quite the same. And he couldn't keep from drinking, no matter how he tried. It was the only thing that eased the pain and the pictures in his mind. And he said it was snowing that December when he took a shot too far, and he watched those Christmas tail lights as they faded in the dark. It was a shot of Christmas whiskey that drove them all away. And they never did forgive me for what I did that Christmas Day. And it hurts when I remember my old Kentucky home and the rest of those Decembers that I sat there all alone with a Christmas whiskey. We sat there holding distant stares and empty glasses, knowing there was nothing we could say. We finished out the night and packed the bus and hit the highway, thanking God for every mile we made. It was a shot of Christmas whiskey that made us stop and think and realize the sacrifice that we never had to make. And it smelled just like the timber in his old Kentucky home, in a tavern in Alabama on a silent night alone, with a Christmas whiskey, a Christmas whiskey, a Christmas whiskey.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can tell the feeling in that song.
Well, you know, there's it's a real thing. It's a real thing for people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's one of them things that I'm real happy to be able to be working with the R&DA Military Assistance Program on this, because it's I set on the song because what do you do with a song that can mean that to people? So
Yeah, yeah.
you know, I wanted to be able to bring it out respectfully and in that honor. So,
Right, yeah.
So that's,
And you say part of the profits and stuff
yeah,
goes
50% of all the online sales. Now you can get this song at any online retailer, in any digital
iTunes, Amazon.
iTunes, Amazon, Google Play.
Just look up Mudbone.
Mudbone Christmas Whiskey.
Christmas Whiskey.
It's not a part of Rivers and Roads Part 2.
Yeah,
It didn't really fit the theme of the record, as
Yeah.
well as you know, it just it's its own thing, and I
Right.
wanted to be able to let it be its own thing. So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But you can get that anywhere online. I haven't pressed any copies of it. I'm not sure if I will, but
Yeah.
all the online proceeds are going to R&DA Military Assistance Program, and or half of those proceeds
Yeah.
go to those guys, and all of what they get, 100% of what they bring in goes out to soldiers in need of assistance,
People
wounded
with
soldiers,
PTSD
who
and
deal
stuff.
with, yeah, and you know, I mean, it's specifically for wounded soldiers, but it's hard. It's sort of one and the same, you know.
Right, yeah.
They go along with one another, and
Yeah.
so.
Physical wounds, psychological wounds.
Yeah,
and,
well, there's a
you know,
lot.
yeah.
There's a lot that you deal with, and you know, they prepare you as well as one can be prepared. But again, unless you've been there and seen it,
right.
you really don't know. You don't know what you're saying thank you for. So just
Right,
think
yeah.
about it when you're saying thank you, and that can go a long way for somebody.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah, I like your stuff. You do a cool interaction, like you say, between blues, country. You know.
But it all comes from one place. Like I said,
yeah.
somebody a real long time ago started this vibration,
Yep.
and we've been tweaking it and turning it around. But it comes from one place, and
Yep.
it's a cool story.
All those old guys, you know, Leadbelly and Charlie Patton and
Yeah.
stuff. You know.
Yeah, and
Classics,
like
yeah.
we were talking even before that, when you get into Ireland and all of the Southern European, the Italian influences with the violins, and the Northern European influences, and
Yeah.
those things came into North America in a different fashion than things from Africa came in geographically, and they met here, and they
Right.
create American music. changed the way the world sounds.
Right.
You know, because in the 20s, well, let's move forward. In the 50s, B.B. King thought his career was over. There was a bus accident, 29-piece band. He had a bus accident and no insurance. He thought it was over with. And a decade and a half later, Eric Clapton and these young kids from a whole other hemisphere are talking about B.B. King's music. And you know, there's a moment B.B. wrote about in his autobiography. He talks about the first time, you know, when he walked out on stage every night, he liked the either the house lights or the floodlights to light up the audience. He wanted to see the audience, and he said he remembered the first night he ever walked on stage, and it was he saw it was an all white audience, and he said he cried for 17 minutes because he began his career running, thinking he was running from his life. He wrecked a tractor in the Delta, and he didn't have the money to fix it. So he hopped, put everything he had. He ran home, put everything he had together real quick, and ran to Memphis, fearing for his life. And so, you know, it's a common thread. It brings us all together, and that's again, those are the things we need to focus on.
Yeah. I read an article one time that talked about the Celtic influence in Jimi Hendrix playing, you know, and it's like, evidently, maybe there was some connection there, you know.
Well, once, like I said, once they stirred together, anybody that came after that stirring was affected by it, whether they know it or not. You know, a modern country artist, and even country artists in the 70s were affected by James Brown.
Sure.
And vice versa. Ray Charles was affected by Bill Monroe. So it's a swirling cycle that's been going on, and that's I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a great place to start, at least. Yeah.
They always talk about the Rolling Stones going to Chess Records up in Chicago and seeing, you know, Muddy Waters and Willie Dixon and all of those guys, and you know how they were such an influence on the Stones, and you know, like you say, it just keeps swirling around, mixing and you know, getting better all the time.
Yeah, and who knows how long it's been going, because you know, we got it from European and African influences, but who started those influences? Right. And I mean, it keeps going way back. And it's kind of a cool thing if you think about it.
Yeah. You're originally from Arkansas area?
Grew up in northeast Arkansas, Randolph County, up just under the Boot Heel of Missouri. Grandparents had a little spot. Ravenden Springs, Arkansas, I guess, is the closest community. It was a 20-mile-long road that had like 6 houses on it. So everybody sort of, it was, I grew up behind the backwoods. We spent the early parts of my life there, sort of moved down into Jonesboro, Arkansas, into the Delta a little bit when I was in my early teens. And then at that time, I started spending a lot of time down in Greenwood, Mississippi, around an area called Teoc, which is the origins of Sun House. And so once I realized, my dad moved down there when I was about 8, so I moved back and forth growing up as a kid, just going back and forth between the bluegrass and northeast Arkansas and that Ozark Mountain sort of influence and the Mississippi Delta. So I've been noticing the similarities my entire life. And so, but once I started spending time down in the Delta, I realized not everybody has a B.B. King in their backyard. You know, for a while growing up, I thought everybody, but no, all that stuff, it's a lot of people created it, and it's from all over, everywhere in North America. But there's not many places like the Mississippi Delta that made it mechanically happen. It's a beautiful place, and it was great to be able to grow up and exploring around in blues land.
I like to visit down there. You know, I was down recently at the King Biscuit Festival down in Helena, Arkansas.
Yeah, that's great. I've never been to King Biscuit, but I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go play it. I'd love to play King Biscuit. I love blues music. Because if you got to put me as one thing, then put me in that box. You know, but it's hard to put me in a box.
Well, that's good. That's good. You know, none of us like to be in boxes, and like you say, there's so much mixing between the genres. You know, even here at WEFT, we've got kind of categories, but that sometimes a CD will end up in two categories, or people say, well, you can play that world music song on a blues show or something like that. Or
Well, for the music business, and music business kind of seems cliche, but for the business of music, it makes it easier. It just you got to categorize things so that people know what they're getting into. I get that, but there was a time before it was that way when everybody played everything,
right.
And if you ask people what they listen to, most often a little bit of everything is the answer.
Right.
I listen to a little bit of everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have this theory. Maybe if you play a little bit of everything, then a little bit of everybody will listen. I don't know. I'll let you know how that works out.
All them old guys, Leadbelly, W.C. Handy, they used to kind of change their playlists to whether they were playing for white audiences or black audiences and stuff like that.
Right.
But they could play anything, really. They could play swing music and jump and jazz and, and then the bluesier stuff as well.
Well, and it was all... that's why we picked 1927 for part one of Rivers and 1977 because, what a great year for music that was. But it's that 1927 thing. That's when everything from ragtime to jazz to blues to Delta blues.
All the
Delta
female
blues
vocalists
just
and stuff.
starting to... Muddy Waters just was about to invent electricity. It was... You're getting into what would become, a world-changing sound.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was right when they were first starting to record some of those guys, Sun House and stuff, like you say, Charlie Patton.
Yeah. And between Sun and Charlie, that's sort of the bridge back to those ring shouts and field hollers and things.
Right.
Those guys took those traditions and put them into a guitar and created the Delta Blues, and the rest is history.
Yeah, all the female singers at that time too. Bessie Smith, Victoria Spivey, and Mamie Smith,
Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Yeah,
that lady. I gotta tell you, if you don't know who Sister Rosetta Tharpe is, you gotta go. Just go YouTube Sister Rosetta Tharpe. There's documentaries and stuff on her. This lady was burning up an electric guitar smoother than Hendrix, and playing raunchier than Chuck Berry. But she wouldn't play anything but gospel music. But her electric guitar, it was on fire. She was playing some incredible guitar. And
yes, she was.
You can hear Jimmy Page riffs. You can hear... You can hear everybody in Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She influenced music way more than she gets credit for.
Chuck Berry, she influenced Elvis Presley.
Everybody.
She was doing those Pete Townsend windmill guitar licks before, 50 years before him, Just incredible. I would say the same thing. Go to YouTube and check her out. There's some amazing videos of her from
She was relatively
50s.
unknown until she did that. There was a thing in England that she did. She went to England, which here we go again.
Right.
It was on a loading dock for at a depot, at a train depot,
right?
And it was like some variety show that they did, and I think it was like 28 degrees. And she went out there, and you see her, man. She's bundled up, but that guitar is completely on fire. She's incredible. Not enough can be said about that lady.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah. Up Above My Head and all kinds of songs like that, The real gospel influence, Didn't It Rain? Yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, she spent many years in the gospel world, and the gospel world kind of turned her back on her when she started.
That's the
doing
thing
more.
Is they thought just because the sounds were the sounds that they were, that it was the devil's blues, and that goes back into Bantu Africa. With the religion, the Voodoo religion that came into Haiti and then turned into voodoo and came into New Orleans, those sounds were attributed with those religions within the slave communities, and so that's later on when Sister Rosetta Tharpe started playing them sounds in church. Those things were resoundingly heretical, I guess you could almost say. It was,
Many of those guys, Reverend Gary Davis, used to kind of, he was gospel music, but then he would drift away and start playing his secular blues and stuff like that, and they would kind of turn their back on him. Then he would go back to preaching again, But a lot of that influence of the devil, like you say too, there's a Legba guy out of Haiti, I think, that they used to kind of honor and whatnot, you know. And he's kind of associated with the devil. He's kind of a trickster and stuff, you know. People kind of associate him maybe with Robert Johnson meeting the devil at the crossroads.
You just gave me some research then. That's a new one for me. So
Legba, I think Legba. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So you got another song or two you want to play here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We're here at WEFT in the front studio. We're talking with Mudbone. He's passing through the area and stopped in to play some music and share some of his thoughts with our listeners here at the radio station. We're thrilled that he's here. And, what do you got going for us?
Well, you know. See that woman with them red shoes on. We're gonna go out stepping, gonna wake the dawn. Me and that woman with them red shoes on. We're gonna go out stepping, gonna drink Patron. Then we'll wake the neighbors when we get back home. Me and that woman with them red shoes on. Oh, I know that she wanna, 'cause she put them red shoes on. Yes, she did now. You see, moonshine dancing crazy on her eyes. I'm gonna take her home and I'm gonna make her mine. That little woman with them red shoes on. Oh, I know that she wanna, 'cause she put them red shoes on. Yes, she did not. That little flower there above her thigh. I'm gonna kiss her softly and I'm gonna make her cry. That little woman with them red shoes on. Oh, I know that she won't, 'cause she put them red shoes on. Now listen here now. You see them red shoes stepping softly up them stairs, y'all. We've been married down here 42 years, me and that woman. Oh, with them red shoes on. Oh, I know that she wanna, 'cause she put them red shoes on. Oh, she tell me that she loved me when she put them red shoes on. Thank you.
Good stuff. That's the song that's on both of your CDs, Part 1 Rivers and Part 2 Roads.
Yeah, you know, part 1, it's you know,
yeah,
it's more in the tradition of Son House. You know,
Yeah,
Son House
yeah.
said it can be happy blues, it can be sad blues, it can be whatever kind of blues. Ain't but one kind, but it can be whatever kind. That's what
Yeah.
Son House used to say. But he that's my happy blues song for Son House in Part 1, and then you
Yeah.
know we got some electricity in Part 2. It's got
There you
that
go.
low diddly beat, and
Yeah.
it's got a lot more electricity. We didn't put horns on that song. That's one of the only ones. I don't think we did that in these days, but everything else we got really great horn section in there. So
Cool. Yeah. Looking forward to giving this a listen here.
yeah,
We'll get it processed in here and we'll be playing it. You know,
I
We got a
appreciate that.
we got a lot of spins on your last CD. You know,
Well, I appreciate that too. Thank you for playing that. It's a special thing to me. Like I said, I played guitar for other artists for 15 years in Nashville, and
Yeah.
was happy doing that. I got maybe a little too happy. I got complacent doing that, you know. And I had an opportunity to record this, and you know, I just figured maybe my mama might want to listen to it, and you know, that was about it. But turns out, you know, folks like it, and that's
Good,
that's awesome.
yeah.
I appreciate you guys playing it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, we thank you for stopping by here and stuff. And anytime you're in the area, you're always welcome. You know, we can try and set you up on a different day or something like that too, if that's more convenient.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Like I said,
got-
I was heading down from. Ultimately, we was supposed to be coming in from Rochester, and then got diverted and ended up going to Pennsylvania, and then Cleveland. I think I was in Cleveland yesterday. Even I'm not sure. Sometimes I wonder a few times a week if I've been to Georgia. That's sort of what kind of life I live. So.
No, that's good. The life of a musician on the road, man. It's a tough life out there, you know.
Well,
and,
it's not a game show. That's for
No,
sure.
no. I was talking on the phone with another musician here, Johnny Iguana. He's a keyboard player out of Chicago, and he used to play with Junior Wells and Otis Rush and stuff like that. He's got a little band called the Claudettes, and they're playing in town here tomorrow night. And they got a CD out titled No Hotel. He says because that was kind of what was written in the contracts, you know. We'll give you $200 for playing, you know. We'll give you half price on the food, 50 cents off on the drinks, but no hotel, you know. So
that's a good thing. I want to hear that. That's good.
Yeah. So it's tough out there on the road, you know. So, but yeah, we need to get you in the area here sometime, playing at one of our local clubs or something.
Yeah, you know,
That'd be good.
I've got the day I'm going to spend. I think I might go stop around and say hey to a couple folks and introduce myself. So
Yeah.
We'll try to make that happen for sure.
I
got a lot of good friends around in the area, so
Good. I sent an email to Joe, who was helping set this stuff up for you here and whatnot, and suggested a couple local venues to check with and stuff.
I saw that.
You know.
I was going to go check those out. Thanks for sending it.
Yeah. The Iron Post, where these guys, the Claudettes, are playing tonight and tomorrow night in Urbana there, right downtown. There's possibility to check on them.
Stick around and check out the show.
Yeah. And also the Clark Bar here, downtown Champaign and stuff, you know. So a couple places you can always check, you know.
That's cool because the place I was at in Pennsylvania not 3 days ago is the home of where the Clark Bar Candy Bar was originated in the factory that made them for many years. So
that's cool.
Called Now I'm Here where the Clark Bar is. The other one.
Yeah. Well, it's on Clark Street, so that makes sense.
That makes sense too. Perfect.
Yeah. Hey, you got another song or so? And
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You know, part one we talk about both sides of the river, and you know, growing up in the Ozark mountainside, and also as well over in the Delta side. You know, there was the Black River. Is a river that goes through northeast Arkansas, and it divides the Ozark Mountains from the Delta. So the music it's like stepping into two different worlds. The music on one side, you got all the Bill Monroe bluegrass influence of Kentucky that made it into the Ozark Mountains, and then you had all of the influences from, you know, it wasn't far from, it was about 2 hours, hour and a half from Helena, you know, where that river, you know, soybean, cotton fields, all the way down there. So it's I was lucky, and when I was a kid, like I said, I noticed early on the similarities. You know, if you put a Delta blues guitar and an Irish fiddle together, it's the coolest sound you ever heard, and they fit together like shoelaces. And so it's all in common. So that's what this song's about. It's called the River Song. It's I led off the whole project with it just because of that sort of influences, and we put a lot of the African Bantu vocal chant things and stuff like that in the recording of it. It was a real fun track to make.
Yeah.
There is a deep and muddy river where I'm from, where I belong. The banks are steep and the river is winding, waiting for my Lord to carry me home. When I was just a child, Lord, I was a child wandering, waiting for where I could roam. But I'm a little bit older now, and this old world got smaller somehow. And that black river rolls through this soul like it's always done. It is a deep and muddy river where I'm from, it's where I belong. The banks are steep and the river is winding, waiting for my Lord to carry me home. Over yonder on the west bank was the beginning of the foothills to the Ozark Mountains and the great beyond. But right yonder on the east side, it wasn't nothing but cotton fields for 500 miles on down to the Mississippi shore. It is a deep and muddy river where I'm from, it's where I belong. The banks are steep and the river is winding, waiting for my Lord to carry me home. And when I go to sleep and don't wake with the morning, bury me in my river home. Oh, bury me in my river home.
Yeah, good stuff. That's a opening track on your first CD, Part 1, Rivers.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that, and it turned out that's one of my favorite things across both projects. Just because of that, I mean, it sort of encompasses the whole theme of everything I do, everything the record's about, everything both parts of the record is about, and it's sort of the opus of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's cool. So we're talking once again with Mudbone here on WEFT, and kind of getting to wrap it up here a little bit. Best way for people to keep in touch with you?
Social media, Facebook, Mudbone Roots.
Mudbone Roots.
On Facebook, Mudbone Music on Instagram. And,
Mudbonemusic.net.
Mudbonemusic.net. That's my website, and you can get the information, tour information there, as well as you can pre-order. Part 2 isn't available online or anywhere else other than where I might be playing. Until January. But if you order a copy off of the website mudbonemusic.net, we'll send that out to you when we get the order in, as well as you can order copies of Part 1 inside the website at the store, and get Christmas whiskey that way as well if you're interested in getting it that way.
And Christmas whiskey also available through Amazon, iTunes, all of that stuff.
All online retailers, and you look for Mudbone Rivers and Roads, and you'll for sure find Part 1, and after January you'll for sure find both of them.
Well, you'll be able to hear Part 2, Roads, right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Next week, all through December before it's even released.
Awesome. Well,
I
appreciate that.
Looking forward to it. Can we leave the listeners with the tune off of the new CD?
Absolutely.
That way we can kind of clean up here a little bit and get ready for John to come in and do his North, South, East, and West show, World Music Show at 2 o'clock here. And why don't you pick whatever you think...
all right, so
your favorite.
You want, there's a lot of rock and roll and a lot of funk and a lot of horns and stuff on the record. Let's do something with horns. Do you want super funky or super funky?
I'd say let's do the super funky.
All right, let's spin Rope.
Rope, track 2 right here. Yeah, this is Mudbone, Rivers and Roads, and this is Part 2, Roads. And this CD's not even going to be released until... sometime in January 9th. But you can hear it right here on WEFT right now. Mudbone, appreciate you coming by again. And
thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And, hope to see you playing here soon.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Here's Rope.
Give a man a little rope and he'll hang himself high. That's what Papa told me. Watching that preacher taking off his time, going crazy, raging, acting a fool. The whole town and Jesus, watching him losing his cool. See, he had been caught cheating, lying and thieving, the whole time preaching the word of the Lord. The whole time preaching the word. See, he was scheming when he first come around. You take the offerings, fill the coffers, and roll on out of town. But temptation come a-creeping. He started sleeping with the wife of a deacon. The whole time screaming the name of the Lord. The whole time screaming the name. The old deacon started preaching at the Wednesday night meeting, where he took to believing he was called by the Lord. Then he started wondering where the funds went, thought to check it out, figured out the dealings, started gathering the flock all around him. And they found they were up against the wall. The whole congregation caught him right back there in the fellowship hall. All of the blaming I heard him say, and hang him for shame in the name of the Lord. Hang him for shame in our name. Oh, and they did in a cottonwood tree, down in Cooley's Holler, behind the graveyard before the bar begins. They were putting them verses, praying and cursing, begging for mercy in the name of the Lord. Begging for mercy in the name. One more time when they laid him down low, tied around the coffin while they dropped him into the ground below. The old deacon threw the rope and the dirt in the hole. Then he spit on the grave while he prayed for his soul. Spit on the grave while he prayed. Give a man a little rope and he'll hang himself high. That's what the deacon said, watching that preacher in his new necktie start swinging.
All right, so we're going to listen to one more song here from the Mudbone CD. And this is the brand new CD, not even released yet, Part 2, Roads. And he said maybe let's listen to Not the One. And stick around, we'll have National Native News at the top of the hour. And then John will be in with 2 hours of great world music, north, south, east, and weft. And hey, thanks for listening.
Want me to do, but I'm tired of playing games with you, and I'm way down, feel like a fool, so I'm easing down the road. I saw you, it was just today. You were laughing, smiling on your way, but the man with you, he was not me, so now I got to let you go. But first I got to know, was it the first time that I held you in the morning? After the night you swore you saw the stars above, when you stood in disbelief and you cried in sweet relief when I showed you about that crazy love. Was it that creekside summer night out in the boondocks, when you swore that you would never do me wrong? Was it laughing till we cried, or when we loved until we died? When did you know I was not the one? When did you know I was not the one?